Steph Curry. The name is synonymous with greatness. The greatest shooter in NBA history, a four-time champion, a two-time MIMP, including the league's first unanimous MIMP. With over 3,782 career three-pointers and a legacy that transcends the game, he has reshaped the NBA as we know it. But as the sun begins to set on his illustrious career, the weight of reviving the Golden State Warriors dynasty rests squarely on his shoulders. At 36 years old, Curry isn't just fighting opponents, he's battling time, injuries, in a league that has caught up to his brilliance. For a team once untouchable, cracks have formed. The Warriors now face rotational chaos, contract disputes, injuries, and a Western Conference that's more competitive than ever. Can Steph Curry solve these challenges and lead the Warriors back to the top? That's the question that defines this season and perhaps the final chapters of his career. And where else can we start but with the most pressing concern, Curry's health?
Is Steph Curry the greatest point guard of all time?
He's the greatest shooter I've ever seen. And he's a hell of a player. He's a great player. Fuck best shooter, fuck best point. He's the greatest. He's one of the greatest players that ever graced this game. And I don't think we probably will ever see this again. So we better, let's appreciate this window of what we have with Steph.
I got Steph in my top 5. I actually got Steph number 3.
Steph Curry has always been a force of nature on the court, but even the best have limits. After 16 grueling seasons, his body is beginning to feel the toll. Recently, Curry missed 4 critical games due to bilateral patellofemoral pain. While an MRI ruled out structural damage, the diagnosis of tendinitis highlighted an undeniable truth: time is catching up to him. Coach Steve Kerr is taking no chances, cutting Curry's minutes to a career-low 29.7 per game. The strategy is simple: keep him fresh for the playoffs. But let's not kid ourselves, every minute Curry spends on the bench is a risk. The Warriors' offense crumbles without him, and their chances of staying competitive hang by a thread. This season, the stakes are higher than ever. One misstep, whether it's pushing Curry too hard or not hard enough, could derail everything. And Curry knows this. It's something you have to manage deeper into your career, he admitted. But how long can the Warriors lean on this balancing act before it all comes crashing down? As the Warriors manage Curry's health, they're also grappling with another challenge: finding the right balance in their rotations. Steve Kerr's 13-man rotation has been a double-edged sword. On paper, the Warriors' bench is their greatest asset, contributing a league-best 59.6 points per game. But in reality, this constant shuffling of players has done more harm than good. Consistency and chemistry, the hallmarks of any championship team, are nowhere to be found. Players like Moses Moody and Jonathan Kuminga are struggling to find their rhythm, while veterans like Draymond Green have voiced frustrations over the lack of predictability. Even Steph Curry has raised eyebrows, saying we need to be more predictable on a night-to-night basis. Kerr's reasoning is clear: by spreading minutes across the roster, he's trying to preserve his stars and avoid burnout. But here's the trade-off: the team's overall cohesion is suffering. The Warriors aren't just experimenting, they're gambling. In a Western Conference this competitive, every game matters and there's no room for error. This rotation chaos is more than just a coaching problem. It's a reflection of deeper organizational struggles. The Warriors are trying to walk a fine line between development and contention, but so far it feels like they're losing on both fronts. And if the rotation dilemma wasn't enough, the Warriors are also dealing with a high-stakes contract standoff involving Jonathan Kuminga. Jonathan Kuminga, a player once hailed as the future of the Warriors, but now at the center of a contentious standoff. Last season, Kuminga showed flashes of brilliance, averaging 16.1 points and 4.8 rebounds. But when he demanded a 5-year, $175 million extension, the Warriors hesitated, and for good reason. This season, Kuminga's production has been underwhelming. His shooting percentages have plummeted, and his impact on the court has been inconsistent at best. It's a stark contrast to the breakout year that justified his lofty demands. And here's the irony: by refusing to meet Kuminga's price tag, the Warriors are limiting his role, keeping him mostly on the bench. How can he prove his worth when he's barely given the chance to play? This isn't just about Kuminga, it's a reflection of a broader challenge. The Warriors are walking a tightrope, trying to balance their young talent with the financial realities of a team already loaded with max contracts. For Kuminga, this season could be a turning point. Will he rise to the occasion and prove he's worth every penny? Or will he fade into the background as just another player who never lived up to the hype? The clock is ticking, and the stakes couldn't be higher. While Kuminga's future remains uncertain, the Warriors face an even bigger challenge: surviving the gauntlet that is the Western Conference. The Western Conference is a war zone. Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets, Luka Doncic and the Mavericks, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander with the Thunder are all vying for dominance. And while the Warriors sit at 1-2-7, their grip on relevance is slipping. In recent weeks, they've suffered crushing losses, exposing vulnerabilities on both ends of the court. Without Curry, their offense lacks direction. Even with him, their defense has shown cracks, particularly against teams with elite guards and versatile big men. Draymond Green put it bluntly: that's why you want to get off to a fast start, because you're going to hit rough patches throughout the season. But can the Warriors afford these rough patches when every game feels like a must-win? Despite the struggles, there's hope. Curry's recent 36-point explosion against the Thunder was a reminder of his brilliance. But brilliance alone isn't enough, not in a conference this stacked, not with the stakes this high. The Warriors are at a crossroads. Will they rise to the occasion and reclaim their status as contenders? Or will they be left behind as the league's new generation takes over? To stay competitive, the Warriors are relying heavily on two key acquisitions: Buddy Hield and DeAnthony Melton. When the Warriors signed Buddy Hield and DeAnthony Melton, they weren't just adding depth, they were making a statement. Hield, one of the league's deadliest shooters, is averaging 20 points per game off the bench. Meanwhile, Melton, a defensive specialist, ranks in the 97th percentile for deflections and has brought much-needed versatility to the team. Hield's shooting has been a game-changer, creating space for Curry and Wiggins to operate. On the other hand, Melton's defensive presence has helped shore up some of the Warriors' weaknesses, particularly in guarding perimeter players. These two players have provided a spark, but the question remains: is it enough? Role players can only do so much. At the end of the day, the Warriors' success hinges on their stars Curry, Green, and Wiggins. The contributions from Hield and Melton are valuable, but they're supplementary. For the Warriors to truly contend, their core players need to carry the load. And that brings us to the heart of the story: Steph Curry's legacy and the enormous challenge he faces this season. This season isn't just about winning games, it's about defining Steph Curry's legacy. Already considered by many to be the greatest point guard of all time, Curry has nothing left to prove on an individual level. But for a player of his caliber, legacy isn't just about accolades, it's about impact. Curry has revolutionized the game, stretching defenses to their limits and redefining what it means to be a point guard. But as he enters the twilight of his career, the stakes are higher than ever. One more championship would solidify his place among the all-time greats, not just as a shooter, but as a leader and winner. But the road ahead is anything but easy. The Warriors are a team in transition, caught between their storied past and an uncertain future. For Curry, every game, every possession, every decision carries the weight of history. Can he defy the odds one more time and lead this team back to the top? Or is this the beginning of the end for the Golden State dynasty? The clock is ticking, and the pressure is mounting. The final chapter of this story is still unwritten, but one thing is clear: Steph Curry isn't going down without a fight. The Golden State Warriors are at a crossroads. Their season hangs in the balance, and their legacy is on the line. With Steph Curry leading the charge, they have a fighting chance. But the challenges are mounting, and the clock is ticking. This isn't just about basketball, it's about resilience, determination, and the relentless pursuit of greatness. Will the Warriors rise again, or has their golden era come to an end? One thing's for sure: with Curry at the helm, the fight is far from over,